Today, as promised, we are going to dive deeper inside Lumen, and I'm going to analyze all the wave shaping algorithms inside the plugin. So during this video, I go for a bit of a more grounded temper. It's because if you're like me, user manuals are cool, but it's nice to have video that go very into the details, and this is what I'm gonna do today. So it's less of the YouTube stuff, subscribe and blah blah blah. We're going to go inside the details of the waveshaping algorithms. Also, as of right now, all the early access members have access to trying the plugin and getting the plugin. Also, if you're a regular mortal who just maybe didn't knew there was an early access thing, still, as of right now, you can try it, and very soon you'll be able to get your hands on it and add it inside your workflow and benefit from all that harmonic sculpting. And if you don't know what harmonic sculpting is, well, stay with me because we're going to dive deep in this video. And without further ado, let's go inside the wave shaping algorithms of Lumen. So we are inside Lumen. I chose the mid-side mode for this demonstration, and in this video it's going to be a deep dive about the shaper. Each band has a shaper, warper, and warmer. Shaper is wave shaping, warper is wave warping, and warmer is saturation. Wave shaping is a very fun and efficient approach to distortion. Everything you do to the shaper is going to be visible on the visualizer. Inside the visualizer, a straight line means that there is no reshaping at all. And as soon as you see this straight line activate, there's some reshaping going on. I'm currently in version 1.0.2. Those are their current wave shaping algorithms. It's not even a spoiler to say that there's going to be more added, but this is the starting lineup, and I'm going to go over each algorithms today. In this video, I brought some meters. There's a spectrum meter. This is actually the one from Adaptart Metric, and I have Wave Candy in spectrum mode, which is going to show the harmonic content. And since, you know, Lumen is all about harmonic sculpting, this one's going to be really cool. And also I want to show you the sine wave, what the sine wave looks like inside Wave Candy. For each algorithm, I'm going to show a pure sine wave, then sweep it with the shaper. And after that, I have this lead sequence called Scissors, and it's coming from the Vertigo Psytrance preset pack for Faceplant by Fractal Sounds. And I'm going to run the same algorithm on this lead so you can see what it does. Just know that these algorithms are placed in some kind of progressing order in terms of intensity. And Fracture is a bit of the black sheep in this one because I kept it, but it's very intense, and it's almost like destructive, stylishly destructive. So this one is more for sound design and creative individual lead processing. We're gonna start with phase scatter. I just want to make sure that I'm gonna start with one of the most noticeable. We're gonna progress our way to all the other algorithms. So let's start on the sine wave. So you could see that it added a lot of harmonic content. Now let's try it on a lead. So in this example, the gain was higher with the algorithm on. I did some more gain stage examples on other video, but we're not necessarily focusing on the gain here. We're focusing on the content that was added, the harmonic content that was added inside the source signal. So you might be wondering what this does. This one is more about messing with the internal timing of the original waveform. So instead of like really focusing on the amplitude of the wave, it offsets some parts of the wave that creates these small shifts inside the cycle. And you can actually see that very well when you look at the visualizer. It almost like it's those little wiggles. So the result, it's more like it can become a bit fizzy, like it adds some brightness when it's really pushed to its maximum. Great on leads. Great on leads. Also on drum content. If you are on like a master channel or a very charged bus, I wouldn't recommend this one. It's more for leads and hi-hats and drums, that kind of stuff. There's some more suited algorithms for drums and for just denser content. We're gonna see them very soon. Now let's go to Waveshaper. You know, when I was talking to you about what the wave shaping does, actually, this one is the closest to the classic quote-unquote concept of it. So this one bends the wave a first time, but in this algorithm, there's a sort of a second layer of motion inside it. So it's like a sine wave living inside another sine wave, and it creates more complex shapes. You can see that especially, you know, when we go like sort of past this and it starts to schlick, you know what it does on the visualizer? Anyways, let's hear on sound. We're going to start with the sine wave. So you can see on the visual content, it's much more sober than the phase scatter that we saw, but it means it's going to be good for different uses. This one will feel much more adequate to push the loudness of denser elements. Well, you're going to hear how it sounds on a lead. This one's going to be much better for a bit more precise mixing uses. Now, Neural Mutator, this one behaves a bit like a neural style soft clip. The curve is very S-shaped. If you're not familiar with wave shaping, this might not ring any bell. So at low levels, it stays almost linear, so it's quiet and the details are preserved. But when you start to really push, the curve starts to bend and it flattens the peaks. So this one is closer to the Waveshaper algorithm. You hear that it's just great to add weight to stuff and push stuff. It's closer to the Waveshaper, but you can see that it adds more content, especially when pushed to its maximum values. Yeah, the difference is pretty noticeable. Also, that's why it's lower in this list. I repeat that just the lower you go, the more intense it is. Now let's listen to it on a synth. Also, one thing I realized is the current lead line I'm feeding to Lumen for demonstration is pretty quiet. So we're going to have better result if we start pushing it inside Lumen a bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push more signal with the input trim, and then I'm going to compensate with the output. And you're going to see that it's going to be more efficient because there's too much headroom for Lumen right now to be at its peak functionality, let's say. So at the same time, it's a good occasion to show you how these things work. So that makes more sense. I'm going to use these settings for the rest of the video. That was the Neural Mutator. Now let's go to Harmonic Clip. So Harmonic Clip, you can think of it as some sort of musical soft clip that adds extra harmonics because there's some extra twist built into it. So it compresses the peaks with a tan type curves, but it also injects some internal motion, which adds some extra overtones. So the signal gets thicker, more solid, and you can hear that something in the upper mids working some magic, and there's some harmonic content coming forward, and you'll see it on the meter. So it's not just, I'm not snake oiling that stuff out of thin air. You're gonna see it on the spectrum meter. So it's a very good choice to beef up some sound, bass, drums, add like authority, presence, weight, and there's a good headroom before it actually go into like just overdrive. Let's start on a sine wave. So it's there, it's on the meter. Like I said, green is the fundamental, and you can see how it looks just with the sine wave. And the rest is the algorithm, and that's what it adds. And you can see there's a bit of, at like 2K, 2 kilohertz is a bit of a more of a presence there inside the content, the harmonic content that's added. Now the lead test. So in another video, I'm going to do more like practical examples. This is more like this analysis example. I'm going to do some practical examples. But if I were in the practical examples, I would dial this down a bit to around 60%, because you can actually hear that at the maximum value in this setup, it starts to oversaturate a bit. And it happens. It's going to happen, and what you want to do is find those sweet spots inside Lumen, but also inside any saturation. I actually have a video about finding the sweet spot. Yeah, for a practical example, that's like how I would set it up. Now it's time for the Oddify Shaper, and it is odd, but in a good way. And also the little pun on the name is because it works on the odd harmonics a bit. I would say this one is the less pushy algorithms of all these. This one is more about color, I would say, than really just like pushing the wave. And it's important for me to have some of these in the lineup as well. So this one adds the emphasis on certain harmonics in the signal. Instead of just clipping the top, it modulates the gain of the waveform in a curved, slightly asymmetrical way. Once again, not snake oiling this out of thin air. It's visible in the visualizer. You can see from all the visualizers so far that we had, this one is asymmetrical. So it can result in a different tone, a bit hollow or nasal, but in a musical way. And this one is not straightforward as a simple clip. The harmonics are going to shift around the signal as it moves. So this one, lots of personality. I would, use this on leads, maybe pads, some kind of stuff. I would stay away from this if you're in mastering mode and mixing a dance bus, like, all your drum bus, dance stuff. I would stay away from that, but coloring individual elements, yes. So on a sine wave, hopefully you remember the other profiles in the harmonic spectrum. This one is peculiar because there was some that really looked like almost like a huge tapestry of harmonic content. This one has more, but you can see that just on top of the fundamental, there's a big punch. There's a big presence. Let's do it again. And also, when I was claiming that it's not necessarily linear, you could see that in different position, it changes, but not exactly in the same way. Now let's use it on a lead. This one, from all the algorithms, due to its asymmetrical nature, you might actually have to, I gain compensated in the negative here, but I might have to chill a bit on the compensation because there's some gain compensation in the algorithm as well. So it's taking out a bit of volume. So let's bring it back. But in any case, you have to do these kind of things if you really want to be efficient and know what you're doing. I suggest that you gain compensate either in the negative or in the positive, whatever you're doing inside Lumen. So almost like a rubbery, fizzy. This one sounds great on like just plain new saw waves with filtering resonance. It sounds great. It brings that rubbery feeling on saw waves. I like it. Moving forward to fold, if you've been using distortion for a while, you're probably familiar with the wave folding type distortion. So what it does to the waves is that it takes the waveform and kind of bends it back onto itself when it gets really loud. And it gets you really good results. So as you push the amount up, you'll notice two things. First, visually, the waveform starts to look more complex and more busy, and so is the harmonic content. And secondly, you're going to hear a lot more upper harmonics, and it's going to get more aggressive, obviously. But on simple sources like a sine wave or a clean bass, it's great if you want to move something from pure to something a bit more colorful and animated, but not oversaturated unless you overdo it, for sure. And on a low amount, it's going to give you some subtle harmonic lift. And yeah, all these algorithms, there's values from 0 to 100%. So feel free to explore all these different behaviors on different sources. But yeah, on the higher amount, this one, you're going to start to hear that it's really like chewing the signal because of the folding action. So it creates almost like a buzzing character. It's awesome if you're like a trance producer. If you feed a square wave to this and start cranking this up, that's great. You can see that it really deserves its place just before phase scatter, and after harmonic clip, it gets more intense. Now we test it on a lead. And I think it's one of my favorites. And what I said about some algorithms that are great for pushing, other algorithms are great for colors. I think this one sits right in the middle. But for sure, if you have dense buses like drums, mastered, just don't overdo it. But a bit of fold sauce, it gets you a long way. So Fracture, the name sounds pretty aggressive, and it's for a reason. So Fracture, it blends the original signal with a very intense high frequency interpretation of the same signal. So as the amount goes up, it gets more fractured, and this fractured component is mixed in the shape of the waveform. So sonically, almost gets you like a crackling, glassy edge on top of your sound. Definitely the most creative, quote unquote, algorithm of the shapers. So if you want to make a sound dirty, it's going to be very, very good for that. So let's hear it on a sine wave. Wow, it's almost art. But yeah, you can hear it. This is on a sine wave, so you can bet how it's going to sound on leads. So once again, just a little side note, for demonstration purposes, I push the algorithms all the way up. And that's not necessarily how I would use them. But yeah, you can see it adds a lot of personality to the sound. And if you dial properly, it can get you that extra edge. But it gets intense real fast because of, the nature. I described you what it does, and you would bet that it gets pretty intense. So those were all the shaper algorithms for Lumen inside V1.0.2. And that's it for this video. Thank you for being curious, still being here. In 2026, that amount of attention span, it's incredible. You should be proud of yourself. And if you're interested into more of Lumen, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video. There is some more analysis coming up, including and not only the visualizer. We're going to do the warper algorithms. We're going to do the warmer algorithms, the circuitry, and much, much more. I'm going to talk about all the development of Lumen if you're curious about it. So it's coming up. Don't miss this. So if you're on the early access, there's one more thing coming up, and it's related to Lumen. It's a very different bonus. It's coming soon. If you're a Mac user, Mac support is coming soon. As of right now, Lumen is only for Windows, but Mac, the support is coming very soon. I'm working on it as I'm working on a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff planned already for Lumen down the line, but Mac support is on the top of the list. So I'm going to see you in another video. Happy producing.